all you miserable people, and welcome to a very exciting Smackdown edition of the Hollywood Heels podcast. I am one half of your co-hosting situation, the rock star, the Renaissance man, the Duke Russo, and I am joined by the divine voice himself, Henron. Dude, Henron, are you fucking pumped for this episode?
I'm about as pumped up as the special guest that we had on this episode of SmackDown. Feeling jacked, feeling rock hard, as some might say. What do we have going on tonight?
Well, we have SmackDown coming from Denver, Colorado. We had a light match card, 4 matches in this. We had Finn Balor versus AJ Styles. Finn Balor collects the win after a little bit of help from Jimmy Uso. We had Street Profits versus LWO. LWO wins the Minute Men of the Night award, lasting maybe 60 seconds on aired television as the Street Profits get the best of them. LA Knight versus The Miz, as if we needed another one. And LA Knight hits another BFT and gets another pin. And the last match was Asuka versus Bayley. A little interesting match here. Asuka gets the pin on Bayley with a quick backslide. So to open the show, we have an entrance by Pat McAfee. And I'm a Pat McAfee fan. As far as like football goes, as far as WWE goes, I kind of am usually like, why is he here? And that was also kind of the vibe I got from the crowd. Like, they weren't really all that hype about it. He gets down in the ring and tries to do the Jey Uso up and down and getting the crowd going, and they just not having it. And before he really has a chance to do or say much, he is interrupted by A-Town Down. He comes down to the ring, and Austin Theory says that this is not SmackDown. It is Austin Theory Live. That he is 26 years old and on top of the world. And all Pat McAfee had at 26 years old was a mugshot. They've got unfinished business. And he told him he was going to hurt him and put him off on the sidelines like Aaron Rodgers. And as a Jets fan, I took that shit personal, man. Like, I've never hated Austin Theory more in my life than in that moment. So Pat commented on how he was very flattered that Austin Theory comes out in a black tank top and black bottoms just like him. And Theory liked to point out that he looks like a Greek god in a black tank. However, Pat looks like he should be flipping fries. I don't know if that's what he meant to say. I'm pretty sure he meant to say flipping burgers. I've never really seen anybody flipping fries. Maybe we're talking about tossing them in the salt, but I can give him benefit of the doubt there. Pat's talking about how he's enjoying all the local laws in Colorado, aka he's high as a motherfucker, and he's chilling with Dion. And Pat said that this will never be Austin Theory Live because it is the People's Show. If you smell, and we get that music pop. Man, how are you feeling in this moment?
Man, like, when was the last time we saw this guy? The crowd, the roof blew off the building. It was fantastic. Love to see it. I was very excited. I heard about it before I actually saw the episode. So I was like, are we serious right now? Like, really? Is that what's going on right now? So I loved it. Great to see him out there, but he was probably just chilling with homeboy Dion. But maybe some dealings with TKO. They had to get a big face in there to really hype things up after this merger to, boost some more funding. That Q3, Q4 numbers, who knows?
Yeah, those were kind of the first places my mind popped as far as like the acquisition, that being finalized, Vince coming back, and the fact that, I think we all agree that Raw has the stronger roster right now, and Roman shows up once every 3 months. So SmackDown could use a little love, and what better way to give them love than bring back Rocky Maivia? He got the Rocky chants as soon as the music ended. I mean, also, Rock, if you want a little bit better guitar work in your ring music, hit me up. I got you. So this upcoming complaint I have was probably a theme throughout this entire segment. So, yes, it's television, and we get the holy shit chants, so they're bleeped out. But usually they'll just like bleep out the shit part. They'll leave the holy part, so it's not just like 30 seconds of no audio. That didn't really work on this time. They just basically had 30 seconds of no audio. Kind of bothered me a little bit. Killed a little bit of momentum on TV, but stay tuned because this is a theme for this segment. Theory asks The Rock if he knows whose ring he's in. And Rock tells him to shut your bitch ass up. Finally, The Rock hits The Rock has come back to Denver. Austin Theory tries it. Doesn't work. And he says that finally people get to see The Rock and Austin back in the ring one more time. And they get a much better Austin than the same old boring Stone Cold. Rock doesn't appreciate this. And it talks about, Stone Cold being his homeboy. And The Rock says, The Rock says, it doesn't matter what The Rock says, Theory hits him with. We all knew that one was coming. But his delivery, I'm going to give it to him on that. Rock, obviously not very pleased, proclaims that it actually does matter what The Rock says. And it matters what the people say. And Stone Cold, being his homie, he knows what Stone Cold would say right now. Stone Cold would say, if you want to see me beat this jabroni's ass, give me a hell yeah. We get a hell yeah in response. He talks about the power of the people, and they'll show Austin Theory exactly what he is. So this is where my next complaint is. Rock arranges a chant where he says, I'm going to get half the arena to say, you are and the other half to say, an asshole. So he gets this going, and at first I was really confused because I thought you could say asshole on TV. I didn't think that was didn't we just talk about somebody have an ass in their entry song? So you could say asshole. But they cut the audio entirely and then piped in this like fake booing. And honestly, it killed the buzz from the segment for me. I don't know how you felt about that. It was a weird moment.
100% I agree. I don't know why they did that. I understand, just like you said, we got money to make, this is a television show, yada, yada, yada. But come on, it was awful on TV. It came across very terribly, if I can speak frankly. Just blur, like completely, you can't hear The Rock yelling. You can't hear Austin Theory yelling. It really threw off the entire segment, and so much excitement built up waiting for The Rock to come back. And then you can't hear a lot of what he's saying because of this little chant that he wanted to do, which, okay, it's cute, but it's not anything you've really done in the past before. Cool, you wanted to make the crowd chant that this guy's an asshole, but you could have said jabroni. You could have said, candy ass. That probably would have gotten across better than asshole, but
he did drop a candy ass later, and that wasn't bleeped out. So, yeah, I don't know who that falls on, but as a TV viewer, it kind of killed the segment. I'm sure in the arena, it was like the most lit experience these people have ever had.
Yeah, for sure. I live, it was probably great, and it might have been better. I didn't catch it live. I caught it on the replay. So it sometimes, usually when it's live, they don't have the time to bleep it out like that. So it might have came across better when it was purely live. Maybe they have clips somewhere where it's unedited that might be more enjoyable.
Well, to me, the fact that they like didn't just cut the audio and they piped in fake boos, they had a plan, and they usually don't have that. That meant they were prepared for it.
That's true.
So yeah, that was the segment killer for me. As sad as that is to say, so he gets this whole chant going, and he says that, I don't know who you are, but I know what you are, and that's an asshole. So we got asshole, bleep that again. And he says that in about 3 seconds, The Rock is about to whoop your candy ass. And so we get the candy ass. That's okay. But Theory hits Rock before Rock has a chance to hit Theory. However, it doesn't matter what Theory says. Rock hits him with a spine buster, sets him up in the middle of the ring, and we all know what's next. One of the most exciting moments in sports entertainment. A long, dramatic people's elbow. We get the lovely leg kicking arm action. It's fantastic. And then Rock has to, for some reason, invite fucking Pat McAfee to do it, and it was horrible. Like, dude, Snoop Dogg's was better.
Yeah, I don't know.
It didn't do it for me. For The Rock coming back, Pat McAfee should not have been in this segment, in my personal opinion. Like, he had no business being in the 4-year return of The Rock.
Yeah, it was very weird. I'll kind of go through my little highlights for this segment. It seemed and I love Pat McAfee. I listen to his podcast here and there. He's a great guy. He's funny, and I enjoy the stuff that he's done in WWE. The short time that he has been around. Yeah, it's been mainly with Austin Theory, but he's kind of, beat the guy, embarrassed the guy, and I don't like Austin Theory, so I enjoy that shit. But his biggest fan seems to be Michael Cole, who was just so excited that he was here and that he arrived. He got to give the lovely, welcome to Friday Night SmackDown intro, which, do they do that on SmackDown? I thought I know that's a Raw thing. I don't remember the last time somebody told me welcome to Friday Night SmackDown, but maybe I just haven't been paying attention. Here comes Austin Theory. He did have a nice line with the Aaron Rodgers comment. I knew you were going to enjoy that one, most definitely.
It hurt inside.
And we knew where things were lining up when he's talking about, this is Austin Theory Live, this is my show, yada, yada, yada. We knew whose show this actually is and who was eventually going to come out and talk to us. It's weird to see this is where they put him at. Pat McAfee.
In Denver, Colorado.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't get it. That's why I kind of lean towards other reasons besides anything actually related to the show, the storylines. Because there was a lot of family drama that went on, and he was nowhere to be seen for any of that family drama. Nobody acknowledged it. One post on X that made me laugh was somebody was like, "Has anybody told this man his daughter is in a cult?" That was a good one. But they had a nice little promo battle, and they gave Austin Theory a lot. And if Austin Theory wasn't so hated and The Rock wasn't who The Rock is, this could have all gone awry for The Rock, the good guy, because when Austin Theory hits the line on him, it doesn't matter what The Rock says. The crowd was like, hold on, I kind of like that from this guy. Like, he actually got him there. And then The Rock's like, actually, it does. And he's just the actually guy. Like, you can't, nobody respects the actually guy. He's The Rock, and that's the only reason he got away with it. But let this have been anybody else, and they actually no, we might have had the rise of Austin Theory Live, in that moment.
I thought he did well in the promo opposite Rock.
Yeah, very good. He's been in the ring with The Rock now, gone back and forth a little bit. He just had some stuff with Cena. So, I mean, they're still trying with the kid. They haven't fully given up on him. And we see Grayson Waller later, with some Cena action. But I still feel like that's going to come back and connect to all of this somehow. What if we get Cena, Rock versus Waller theory? I feel like that's something that they're slowly setting up in the background somewhere.
Yeah. To your point, a couple moments I thought to myself of like, what more do they feel like they need to do to try to put this kid over? They've given him Cena. They've given him The Rock. Like, who else have they gone that far out of their way to try to make the crowd react to? I really can't think of anybody.
Anybody besides Roman,
Yeah, and it worked with Roman because Roman could do it, but Austin Theory ain't no Roman.
That he is not. He did show me that he can actually be a lot better on the promo. I wasn't bored. I was actually kind of into this segment. As much as I hated Theory, it was actually two characters and not The Rock and some jabroni.
Yeah.
The only jabroni in the ring, unfortunately, was Pat McAfee just chilling in the background. Just, oh my God. But I did love his comment that he was enjoying the legalities in the state in which he was currently hanging out in. He's high as fuck. So good for him.
Yeah. Yeah, he did well there. So after this segment, we get into our first match of Finn Balor versus AJ Styles, which I feel like we knew was coming at some point. Didn't exactly know when. And take it away, man.
Yeah, we got two former leaders of the Bullet Club back in their New Japan days. One thing they slid in there, I was wondering, where's Ripley? They said she's not cleared after that brutal assault from Nia Jax earlier this week. So that's why she's not around. So I'm glad that they did mention that. But quick little match here. Match wasn't too long. Starts off Finn and AJ. Finn getting that early control, getting some stomps in on AJ in the corner. AJ does come back, hits a nice backbreaker before hitting a sunset flip, rolling over on top of Balor. But of course, Balor rolls through to hit his classic drop kick out of that. Finn tries for a pin, isn't able to get it, and then just kind of grinds a headlock in the middle of the ring for a little bit. At this point, the commentary mentions that the Judgment Day are like Deion Sanders when it comes to recruitment. And man, like, are we going to get Deion and his kids on this show like we had the Ball brothers? Like, every week on SmackDown, they've mentioned Colorado or Deion like more than once. So I don't know. I feel like there's something there as well. But back to the match.
I'd be in it.
It's got to, he's a character, and I feel like there's money in that.
Oh, there definitely is. If we can have Rodman coming back to AEW, pretty sure that the Sanders family making a WWE appearance would be very beneficial to both sides.
But as we get back into the match, Finn is still kind of grinding out into this headlock. AJ is able to stand up, get a nice slap out of that. We get some rope running before Finn eats a nice drop kick from AJ as he rolls out of the ring, and we get a commercial break as we see Finn hanging out on the outside with Judgment Day catching a break. As we come back, AJ is now in control, hitting some chops into Finn before they both sprint into the ropes, and we get a double cross body, and they're both just down. While they're both kind of regaining their energy in the middle of the ring, we get a clip from the commercial break where we see AJ Styles eats a choke slam from Damian Priest on the apron before Finn Balor hits a sliding drop kick during the commercial break. As both competitors are rising back to their feet, they just start striking each other. AJ starts getting the momentum, gets a nice forearm splash in the corner, tries to get Finn up on his shoulders, but Dom runs up on the ring, gets a distraction on the ref as Finn gouges the eyes. Then he hits this weird wheelbarrow face buster. AJ counters back into Finn, but Finn kicks out of that. They then start fighting up top. Looks like we're going to get a Hurricanrana attempt from AJ Styles onto Finn Balor, but AJ just smacks down on his back as Balor holds on to the rope. Balor tries to go up top to hit the coup de grace, but AJ gets up quick to knock him down. He kind of rolls through and is hanging down, head down into the ropes, and AJ Styles grabs him in the perfect Styles class position, and it looks like it's over right there. But we get some up kicks from Finn Balor, only for him to kind of pick him up over his shoulders and get thrown down neck first into the knee. Balor rolls back outside, hanging out with Judgment Day. But AJ decides not to let him rest this time, jumps over the top rope, taking out Finn Balor. Judgment Day, Priest, Dirty Dom kind of back up before Dom tries to rush in, and Dom gets clotheslined down on the ground by AJ. AJ throws Finn in the ring. As AJ's trying to get back in, there's a distraction from Priest. Priest grabs his leg, but the ref catches him this time. So the ref ends up giving him the big whirling finger and kicking Judgment Day out, sending him back to the locker room. Judgment Day slowly, begrudgingly fights as they make their way around the ring, heading back up towards the ramp. AJ is standing on the apron, trying to line up for a forearm, jumps in for Finn to dodge it. AJ does regain control, gets him in a powerbomb position, puts his arms up for the Styles Clash. Before we get a surprise run-in from Jimmy Uso, runs in only to get hit, and AJ gets rolled up into a crucifix by Finn Balor. 1, 2, 3. Balor pins AJ Styles, and the ref never saw Jimmy.
No, and I wonder if we're going to get another one of these matches. I hope so, because these are two awesome in-ring performers. Their history with the Bullet Club alone tells you all you need to know. One thing that I found really interesting about the end is so the ref ejects Dom and Priest, and they don't really leave. They never really left. That's how Dom comes back to the ring to distract the ref as Jimmy gets involved. So it kind of annoyed me that they got ejected, but basically never left, because I don't think and it was a pretty decent amount of time, and I don't even think they made it a quarter of the way down the entrance ramp. They just stood there. So yeah, that was, my kind of thing about the ending.
Yeah, I agree. They barely made it to the entrance ramp, and it kind of mixed up from there. I'm sorry. That was blatant cheating. I get it's ref's discretion, but that's a DQ. Just DQ it if you're going to send him back. I get it if maybe you didn't see him and you're like, there's been a lot of shenanigans and I think something's been going on. I can't prove it, but I'm just going to kick you out. But no, you saw what happened. I'm sorry. You lose, Finn Balor, because that's... And then we can set up a tag title match. I don't know.
Yeah. Like I said, I hope we get more of these, because I feel like this has potential to be really, really good. I can't remember these two fighting each other. Do you?
I feel like back maybe 5 years ago, there might have been something, but no, I really can't think or name anything off the top of my head.
Yeah, it's hopefully more to come. So after this match, we get a quick backstage segment with The Rock and Pat McAfee. They're chatting over the fact that Denver would have went on for 2 hours with the "You are an asshole" chant if you let them. And then Pat points over Rock's shoulder and he says, hey, there's a guy you can't see here. So the camera pans all of 2 feet to the right, and we see John Cena. We do see him, actually, for reals. And The Rock are face to face. And The Rock says, I can see you. There's a little bit of a stare down between the two. But The Rock says that he can see Cena trying not to smile. And Cena just lets out a giant smile and says, welcome home. They hug it out. And then we cut to Jimmy backstage. He's doing his kind of like I need a cigarette pacing thing in the back. And Finn Balor comes in with a, hey, yo, Oos. Thanks for the assist out there, dog. My dog. Keeps emphasizing dog in one of the most like cringe uses of the word of all time. Jimmy responds that this ain't got nothing to do with y'all. The way I see it is you helped me last week. I returned the favor, and now we even Oos. So Finn is just kind of like nodding and saying, you know, oh, we're even now. And Jimmy, kind of proud of himself, is, yeah, you know, pay back to everyone who did me wrong. So Finn is still kind of just nodding along and saying, yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Hey, I seen your brother on Monday. I'm sure you miss him, huh? So Jimmy is not the brightest one in the bloodline, but he's bright enough to see that Finn is trying to do something here. And Finn is saying that, you know, I miss my brothers all the time. I'm sure you miss yours. I spoke to Jay about joining the Judgment Day, and he didn't say no. So, I mean, that's basically a yes, I guess, in Finn's eyes. So he's kind of positioning that maybe both of you join the bloodline. You know, it would help with the John Cena, AJ Styles issue that they've got going on. Jimmy tells him that he appreciates it, but we good. We as in the bloodline. So Finn's telling me, just throwing it out there. The cool thing about the Judgment Day, there's no leaders, dog. And you know what that means? There's no Roman. So Finn leaves, and Heyman comes into the shot. He did one of the better jobs of like hiding in the back of the segment and not even noticing, and then just kind of appearing. He just points to where Finn just left, and no one says anything, and then the segment cuts. So there's some interesting foreshadowing here on this segment. What do you think?
Yeah, this was great, my dog. Finn Balor is on the run of a lifetime. Everything he does is gold. The whole way he was speaking in this segment, why was he talking like that? It was fucking fantastic. It was a cute little segment between The Rock and Cena. You know, it's nice to see them. And one thing I was thinking, with a small touch of the next segment here, we had Rey Mysterio, John Cena, and The Rock on SmackDown. When was the last time that's happened? How many years ago were those three on this show together? You know, I don't know when that is, but I was thinking like, fuck. But I'm eager to see where this Judgment Day bloodline stuff goes. I know the AJ Styles stuff is just in there to stir the pot until, you know, like that's the main part of the soup. He's just the spoon that's going to get tossed out until we actually get the final product. But it should be interesting. I wonder if they're going to get Street Profits in the mix. That's my guess after AJ and them.
Yeah, I hope the Street Profits thing isn't just like filler though, because I really would like to see the titles on them, and there's definitely more gold insight by Hurt Business 2.0 for sure.
Yeah, and speaking of which, that leads us right into the next segment where we had LWO standing out in the ring. What did we have going on right here, man?
Yeah, so we got the entire LWO family. Zelina Vega and her outfits, man, like she's just like little raver girl this time. I don't know what she's got going on usually, but Ray's the one with the mic in his hand, and he's telling, you know, all the love and respect to Denver and his LWO family. When he first joined SmackDown, he was in one of the hardest times of his life, but the LWO reminded him what family truly represents, and now he's a champion, and his family is stronger than it's ever been. And Escobar chimes in saying that when Theory attacked him and he couldn't challenge for the title, Ray stepped up and took the title for him. So he looks at Ray and he says that my dream has always been to face my idol, Rey Mysterio, in the ring with a title on the line. So he issues the challenge to Ray for the U.S. title, and Ray looks at him and first says, "Are you serious?" And Escobar is like trying to simmer him down a little bit, saying that he's nothing but love and respect for him. And Ray was just fucking with him. So he's like, I feel the same way. And of course I accept. And this is when we get an interruption by the almighty himself, Bobby Lashley, accompanied by the Street Profits. Bobby is telling the Profits that we got tag teams falling apart. We got tag teams having some sort of weird love fest in the ring. I said we were going to take over, and it's looking like it's going to be even easier than we imagined. And Dawkins chimes in and he's saying, he ain't lying. Escobar out here asking for opportunity and Ray handing out opportunities like Oprah. Tez hits him with a, you get an opportunity, you get an opportunity, and you get an opportunity. And LWO escalates it pretty quickly and says that they're always ready for a fight and let's go. And then we go into a break and come out of the break into the match.
Yeah, I like this little segment here because we knew where we were going with Santos and Ray. We knew eventually we were going to get a match between the two of them. So I'm glad to see them actually progress this storyline because it's likely going to lead into somebody else taking that belt. My first thought, are we getting Tez a belt or is Bobby Lashley going to wrestle? I can't really tell where this exactly was going because Bobby didn't wrestle, but there was a little stare down between Ray and Bobby. And there's no way you're giving us a Ray and Bobby match. That man might end his career. I'm going to harp back on my big man, little man stuff. And you can't put Bobby Lashley in the ring with Rey Mysterio and expect me to believe that anything else is going to happen other than what you can immediately imagine by seeing these two gentlemen standing next to each other.
I wish it was happening, but it's probably going to be Escobar Lashley. Which could be fun. Escobar could do some stuff, but I don't know. I'd like to see Tez get it. I'd like to see that. I agree. Two belt Tez.
You know what I'm saying? Let's get some pump. Let's get some juice. Let's get some action. They had Tez and Bianca during the big TKO merger. So, he a big face in the company now.
Yeah, and I appreciate Tez has been on a bit of a bulk. He's definitely put on some weight. You can see him filling in a little bit.
For sure. That's that Gunther mentality. They tell you we need X, Y, and Z. You give them what they want. They better give you what you want,
I'm sure the Almighty himself is helping him out with some supplements.
Oh, man. That's the best workout partner you could ever ask for if you're trying to get swole, shit.
For real. I mean, Bobby Drew is up there, or make a call out to Brian Cage, maybe.
Yeah, Brock, and I mean, Roman's kind of trimmed down a little bit as well from, back in his Bulletproof Vest days.
Yeah, I got nothing to say about Roman now taking his shirt off.
Right, but we'll jump back into this match, which they cut to a commercial break after the talking segment, and then we get right into the match, in the middle of the match, between the Street Profits and Joaquin Wilde and Cruz del Toro. I'm sorry, still learning these two gentlemen. I'm not super familiar with them. But we quickly jump right into the match. Very soon after the commercial break, all men are into the ring. Dawkins tosses out Cruz del Toro. Cruz is throwing some kicks. He misses one, but gets another one. Tries for a splash, but misses on Dawkins. Dawkins gets the big tag to Tez. We get some rope running before, I believe, Joaquin Wilde gets picked up into the spinning spine buster that Tez runs off and hits the neck breaker combo. 1, 2, 3. Michael Cole said something along the lines of Revelation Instincts. I don't know if that's what this is called, but he randomly said that after they hit this. A lot of big words that are cool, I guess. But we're chilling. Street Profits are happy. LWO is gathering themselves, and Street Profits are talking to Bobby. And Bobby's like, yeah, I love it. He tells them some stuff on the apron, and the Street Profits start the beat down on Cruz del Toro and Joaquin Wilde. We get Rey and Escobar to run in there. They try to calm things down. And for a second, Street Profits back down, and they're kind of looking at him. And then Lashley steps in, takes out Escobar from behind. And this is where we get that kind of weird stare down between Bobby Lashley and Rey Mysterio. And then I believe Tez grabs the leg of Rey Mysterio, and we get a big punch from Dawkins to knock him down. Street Profits then, kind of walk out, and everybody's licking their wounds as the segment ends.
Yeah, I was wondering whether we were going to go the Lashley Ray route or the Lashley Escobar route, but to be honest, man, I didn't even really see Lashley as a US champion guy. I almost feel like that belt's like a little below him. Is that insulting? I'm not sure.
Yeah. I know, like, back in the day, he was a perennial right underneath the top of the card guy, a big IC European US guy. But he'd be a good title holder for it. A nice champion, believable champion to hold that belt down probably until Mania to give somebody a big victory, where maybe eventually we get Bobby Lashley preventing opportunities from the Street Profits and taking the US title himself instead of a position that could have been taken by Tez, and eventually Tez going face and taking the US title from Bobby Lashley at Mania. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I would enjoy that plot line for sure. Dude, this match was just like I said, it was the Minutemen match. It was, hopefully the live crowd got a little bit better of a show, but I wrote down the same thing, dude. I was like, so are they calling that the Revelation? I didn't even catch the Instincts part. I just wrote down like Revelation ? If it was just the Revelation, I could get behind that as a name.
Yeah, the Revelation, something like that. That'd be cool. And I don't know about the Instincts. It was something that Michael Cole was saying in passing. It was hard to fully catch. But I feel like he said that for a reason, just like when Shayna Baszler did her Exterminatus or whatever the hell that was.
Yeah, it's like, hey, we're adding a new finisher onto these people. Hopefully we get some kind of momentum here with the Street Profits, and it leads to a tag championship reign. But I don't know. As weeks go on, I more and more am starting to feel like they're going to give Judgment Day a fairly long reign here, because they're starting to put the Judgment Day in the middle of basically every feud in the company right now. So I feel like that would mean that they're going to hang on to the titles for a while.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And there's no reason in taking them off unless we split them and they still keep one pair. They keep the Raw while we give somebody the SmackDown. They eventually got to split them at some point, right?
I hope so, man. I'm really tired of all this, like, multiple belt holding, unified but not unified situation. I mean, if anything, it just speaks to the state of the talent in it. I mean, let's be honest, like, the fact that all these legends are coming back, it's fun and it's awesome, but there's a reason they're coming back, and it's usually not a good reason. It's like oh shit, Roman's not going to be here for 3 more months, and SmackDown has very little talent, so let's set up a situation where Judgment Day can appear on both, and then we bring back Cena, and then we have Rock show up, and to me, all the belts being on the same people is kind of like just as bad of a sign of that. And it may get worse, dude, because, I mean, I think a lot of us have seen and heard about the articles that there's going to be more cuts coming. And it's just unclear whether it's going to be in-ring performers included in that or just on the back end. But it could get worse before it gets better.
Yeah, I saw some recent stuff online about recent cuts, and I've not looked into anything But I'm sure we're soon to see things in the next coming days. From what I heard, it was supposed to be more in office than actual talent, but we'll see. Maybe a lot of this thrown together stuff that we've been seeing is the effect of some of those cuts already. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, with the merger happening and Vince coming back all at the same time, I mean, obviously those two are related, clearly. I did see reports that pretty much all the talent want Triple H to be the one calling the shots and steering creative. So we'll see if we end up with some of the anti-Vince situations that we've had in the past. I would hope that he would be more apt to step down at this point. And not even really step down, just like let a dude who was already doing it and doing it pretty damn good, honestly, just continue the good work. So we'll see where that goes. Ultimately, I'm hoping there's not going to be a ton of talent cuts because really, I mean, there's all the rumors that the WWE is going to land Jade Cargill. I think that would be phenomenal for the company. I think that would be the competition for Rhea that we need. She's just going to need to be a little bit better on the mic than she's been in the past. So I'm hoping that the rumors of that acquisition are an indication that hopefully there's not a whole lot of talent cuts. I did see that CM Punk made a joke about that he's going to have a lot of free time until basically the date of Survivor Series, when Survivor Series is going to be in Chicago. So I don't want to like sound like a hater, but I just don't see the point in that. So maybe that is, if that does end up happening, that's another indication that there's not talent cuts. I don't know, man.
Yeah, I hope they don't. I mean, I don't want to say I hope they don't hire that guy, because if, you know, he wants to do it, they want to do it. If he enjoys doing it, I'm sure somebody will enjoy seeing it. But it's not my taste. It's not my liking. I guess it'd be something interesting to put into the storyline, but I don't know. I feel like it's just going to gimp opportunities for some other people, and it might even hinder some these young up-and-comers. Who knows? But too much drama. I'm over it. Yeah,
it would just end up being a distraction. So I'm personally hoping that doesn't happen. Next up, we have what is hopefully the final match in the LA Knight vs. Miz saga. What do we got for this match?
Yeah, so on that same note right there, they hyped this thing up like it was a pay-per-view match. They played a long-ass recap about it. They gave them both full intros. There wasn't any commercial break nonsense. They gave everybody the full intro to show everybody out there. Announcers are talking about this is a must win for The Miz. And I'm just hoping that, I'm like, yeah, it kind of is, but I hope it doesn't, because I'm done with it. Please, I'm done with it. But we start off in the match, and just two grown men. You can imagine the kind of style of a match we have between these two gentlemen. You know, they're not luchadors, they're not cruiserweights, and it's The Miz, unfortunately. So we just get some collar and elbow tie-ups. You know, they're pushing each other, trying to fight for control. Miz gains a little bit of control, grabbing a headlock before we get some shoulder tackles by LA Knight, knocking The Miz down. Yeah, the crowd's loving it. The crowd's just hype in the background. We get a tiny balls chant. Never going to live that down. That sucks. We get another shoulder tackle by LA Knight. And then now Miz is just kind of scared. He backs down, crawls into the corner. But all he does is bait LA Knight into the corner so that he can pull him down, slam him face first into the turnbuckle. And then The Miz starts to take over. We get some chops by The Miz before LA Knight makes his comeback, gets a couple chop on The Miz himself. The Miz is just randomly talking to the ref in the background. And at the start of the match, too, he was talking to the ref early on, like basically telling him, I need you to pay attention. I need that 1, 2, 3 as LA Knight's making his entrance. I like the little small things that he does in the background. But we get a nice power slam by LA Knight, kick out by The Miz. We then get a nice little neck breaker by LA Knight, knocking The Miz to the outside. And then then The Miz is standing there on the apron. He gets a nice little shoulder to the gut of The Miz, who's just kind of standing on the other side of the ropes, before we get a big leaping shoulder block by LA Knight, just throwing himself over the top rope and taking The Miz out with his shoulder. The Miz eventually kicks out and begins to regain some control, lines himself up, and the Miz, the entire match, everything he was doing, he was just so slow and methodical with it. He had to pause and line him up and make sure he's at the right angle and look at the ref and look at the crowd and show his frustration. And it just was a little too much for me, man. Like, he just drug everything out, and LA Knight was just eating all these moves, and it just became a little bit too much for me. At one point, LA Knight's trying to counter The Miz, and The Miz picks him up for a back body drop, and LA Knight's supposed to just do the backflip, over The Miz's shoulder to land on his feet, but he completely under rotates, I guess, and slips on his feet and falls down hard as shit. I'm glad he's okay, but those accidents where somebody gets injured, he then counters back into things, eventually gets a nice second row bulldog on The Miz, hits a low running drop kick before we get another kick out by The Miz. The Miz then pokes the eyes of the opponent, LA Knight, while after getting a distraction from the ref. LA Knight is trying to gather himself in the corner, and we get the classic little Miz combo where he drops that big sliding lariat sitting on the ropes, and then pulling him back face first into the STO. We get a little bit of a commercial break right here. The Miz in control, eating some boots, or giving some boots to LA Knight, before we get a Shining Wizard knee to the face by The Miz. He busted that one out. He tries a skull crushing finale. LA Knight is able to fight out of that. Then gets sent into the corner, eating some kicks from The Miz before he counters with a huge clothesline and a big side Russian leg sweep into a DDT. He's got the fire. He's feeling it. He starts stomping The Miz out in the corner. Every time we get a stomp, we get the crowd chanting in the back, "Yeah!" So the crowd's loving it. He does his classic run across the ring, hits him for the big knee. We get a little bit of action in the middle of the ring as they fight over a pinfall. Miz trying to cheat, at one time grabs the tights. But eventually, LA Knight gets thrown to the outside and gets tied up in the rope. Chest first, Miz pulls his arms back over the top rope as LA Knight is kind of hanging between the bottom and the top rope, lifting his chest back up so just his chest is hanging out. Eats a kick, and then Miz hits another beautiful code breaker while an opponent is hanging in the ropes. I love that move. It's great. LA Knight does kick out, and the Miz just can't believe it. We get a little bit of a back and forth. LA Knight is able to dodge a kick that the Miz throws. He rolls through, starts to get some big punches on the Miz, gets the crowd hyped up. Miz tries to counter, but he gets picked up and dropped neck first onto the rope as LA Knight hits the BFT, 1, 2, 3, and gets the pinfall.
Hopefully that's the last BFT the Miz has to eat.
Yeah, I'm glad it ended. He got the pinfall. He grabbed the mic, and he basically said, "I want a champion." He said it doesn't matter if it's Ray, if it's Gunther, if it's Seth, or hell, even if it's Roman. It ain't just a catchphrase. I'm top 2, and I ain't 2. And tell the crowd to say it one more time. LA Knight. Yeah.
We're definitely getting a title run by this guy. It's nice to see the company acknowledge that and not tease the audience with what they want anymore and basically say you're going to get it. Now, whether he wins or not, a completely different story. I do think that we're on the right track with we're going to get LA Knight Roman. Possibly that could, I mean, it's reported that Roman's next defense will happen at Crown Jewel. So could be LA Knight, Roman at Crown Jewel. I saw Bad Bunny saying that he wants a Roman Reigns match. He doesn't fucking deserve it. Get the fuck out of here, kid. Give me LA Knight and Roman Reigns at Crown Jewel. And yeah, obviously Roman's going to win, but it's going to be fun. The crowd's going to love it. And it'll give him enough credibility to challenge anybody in the company. So make it happen.
Yeah. He's got a small rocket. He needs a bigger rocket strapped to him. Keep him up in the stratosphere, but keep him away from some of these other big stars. I don't need to see him mixing with The Rock, with Cena. I don't need any more of that. I don't need any more Miz nonsense. We'll see what happens next. I don't know who he could be going for, because it seems Ray's going to be tied up a little bit with Bobby Lashley and that group of gentlemen. And I don't see LA Knight getting mixed up in there and beating Bobby Lashley. I don't want to see that, because I don't want Street Profits to fall backseat in a transitional storyline. That sounds whack. I think we're going to see Gable taking that IC belt, but maybe maybe Gable's going to be the transitional champion that loses to LA Knight. I don't know.
Could be. I do actually kind of like the Lashley taking US and then we get LA Knight Lashley. Because I do hope, even though I think Judgment Day is going to have the titles for a long time, I do hope that they end up on Street Profits. I just think they deserve it. I think they just deserve more airtime, period. But as much as we all love LA Knight, I think that we can all acknowledge like his in-ring ability isn't always at the top. So I kind of don't want to see him against somebody like Seth. Obviously, Seth is so awesome in the ring that he'll make anything work. I guess I could see him and Gunther. I could definitely see him and Gable. But to me, I just feel, and LA Knight's pretty fucking jacked too. So LA Knight, Lashley, I feel like would be really good. I do think that Roman LA Knight will be really good, unless maybe we get solo LA Knight before that. We'll have to see where they want to take this one.
Yeah, very, very interesting where this could go. But I think what you said about the Bobby Lashley, I think that's likely where this is going to go, because they're both on SmackDown. LA Knight's a face, Bobby Lashley's a heel. So I think that's probably where we'll end up going in the next pay-per-view or so.
Yeah, I'll enjoy that. So after this, we end up with a backstage piece with Solo and Heyman watching LA Knight and listening to everything he's saying. Solo tells Heyman that he's going to handle this problem. But Heyman remarks that this is the kind of order that needs to come from the tribal chief. And he hasn't given me that order to give to you, in his like kind of, quivering, afraid moment, fearing for his life of disobeying Roman Reigns. So Heyman tells Solo that they need to concentrate on Jimmy, with all due respect. Jimmy is cutting deals with the Judgment Day, and when that falls apart for the bloodline, Solo's going to be the one to fight that battle. Jimmy's out here picking fights with John Cena, and when John Cena comes for his pound of flesh, you're going to have to fight that battle. Jimmy thinks he's in the bloodline. He's in the bloodline, pointing to his veins, but he's not in the bloodline. And they can only do things like that when Roman Reigns gives them the order to do so. Then Solo can handle that business. Solo, being the rogue that he can be at times, is saying that he already knows what he needs to do and he's going to finish it tonight. And then walks off. Heyman, talking to himself, says, "But who gave that order?" And we get a good old call Roman Reigns. So some of this is foreshadowing to what happens later in the night with Solo, but this is just more of the same, dude, of like painting that whole Solo has a mind of his own and is starting to have his own opinions about what needs to get done and how it needs to get done. I don't think Heyman can really hold on to him much longer.
Yeah. The leash, that he thinks is there might not be as tight as he thinks it is. I don't know if this is maybe hinting at something that I kind of was thinking in the back of my head. Is Solo says, "I already know what I need to do." And Paul's confused as, who gave that order? What if Roman has been talking to Solo and leaving Paul out? What if Paul is slowly losing his grip on Roman in the bloodline? That maybe trying to add that little twist in the story as we move into things. All I know is Roman is coming back soon. I don't think he's gonna be happy. It doesn't seem any reason why he would be. And man, I hope I'm there when he comes back, because it's gonna be fucking great. He's gonna be pissed. It's gonna be an oh shit moment. And I think it's going to happen when shit hits the fan, because Solo is already kind of, stepping into his loose cannon ways. Just as he said, "I'm going to finish this tonight," he looks at the spike and he's like Venom, like something in that spike is talking to him. It's something else that's inside of his head. And that, that's what's actually controlling him. He's not in control of his own actions. It's the spike. It needs to spike. It needs throats. It needs to finish and find these throats so that it can perform its maneuvers. But of course he calls Roman, and we see a taste of that later as well. But I don't know. I'd love to see exactly where this goes. I feel like some shit's going to go off between Jimmy and Solo. They're going to end up in a match. Paul's going to be telling Solo not to do something, and Solo's mid-spike, we're going to hear Roman's music drop, and everybody's going to be like, "Oh, fuck." I can't tell you exactly how they set that up, but it's going to be nice.
I do think this is going to be one of the more dramatic Roman returns that we've ever had when it happens. And honestly, dude, I kind of love the whole Heyman's the one on the outside take. I would be very interested in them playing that part of it out.
Yeah, it could be fun. And then maybe we see like Jimmy and Paul, and Paul's trying to push main event Jimmy instead of main event Jay. And, we could get a cute little spin on that before Paul eventually is like, "I've been with Roman this whole time."
Yeah. Although, I mean, Heyman's been kind of like poking around a little bit. He's been talking to LA Knight a little, and, the Judgment Day has no leaders, man, so the door's always open.
That's true, my dog. That's true.
So after this, we get a quick cut to what I believe is Adam Pearce's office with Pretty Deadly. Pearce is saying that medical is telling him that Elton's shoulder is healing and he'll be able to get back in the ring soon. Elton is being a bit dramatic, saying that he is a shell of the man he once was, that the memory of Ridge Holland injuring his shoulder is stuck in his mind and he can't get rid of it. It has the same intensity and clarity of a freshly bloomed flower on a warm spring day, but yet he can still hear the sound of his bones breaking. He can still see the dumb look in Ridge Holland's dumb face as he smiles at his misfortune. Oh, the horror. Pierce is a little lost for words, saying, I don't understand anything you really just said, but what I do understand is that medical says your shoulder is healing. Pierce then looks at Kit and says, it was a shoulder, right? Why is he in a wheelchair? The audacity of Adam Pierce. Elton lets him know that there are just some scars that cannot be seen. Kit starts calming Elton down, telling him to breathe. And with the perfect training regimen, he will be back before he knows it, and Pretty Deadly will be the best tag team ever. He asks him to give it to him. Do it, Henry. Give me a yes, boy.
Yes, boy.
Yes, boy. Elton hits him with a giant yes, boy. And we move on to the next match. Dude, we need Pretty Deadly badly right now.
Just like, and I have nothing further to add because you hit the nail on the head. Even the perfect description as they're talking about the dainty little flower in the wind. Oh man, just a taste of them every episode. That's it. Just a little yes boy here and there. That's all that we ask for. You know, I can't wait for them to come back, put the Brawling Brutes down, and you know what? Keep those tag belts warm. You know, we got to split them up. So, because we got to get a hit plate check, we need some Pretty Deadly action. We need them to have the belts. It's going to be great. Put them in the ring with Chad Gable. Put them in the ring with Street Profits. Put them in the ring with Judgment Day. It's going to be fun stuff.
I think that they're going to stick them with a lesser assignment first. I feel like they're going to warm them up with like LWO or something. Obviously, after they take down the Brawling Brutes, and then maybe move on to LWO or like whoever ends up being the odd tag team out of the title race. I'd have a hard time seeing them beat like Street Profits though.
Yeah, I was gonna say what other tag teams do we even have down on SmackDown?
The OC.
Oh yeah. I mean that they could do some fun backstage stuff. That could be a cute little month of stuff between the OC and them.
Yeah.
But they were trying to put him with Austin Theory last time, so I don't know if they'll try to tie that in somewhere.
I hope not. They can do better.
Yeah, for sure.
They should have had some sort of collaboration with Marseille and whatnot.
Does that guy even still work for the company, man?
I have no idea. Probably not. So after this, we bounce to another backstage segment with Bayley and Dakota Kai. Bayley is telling Dakota that Io has to beat Asuka next week. So Dakota knows that's why she's off training. Explains why there is no Io on the show this week. Bayley's saying that's good, but she's the one who's planned everything all the way back since their debut. Io's never been in the ring one-on-one with Asuka, and she has no idea why she impulsively challenged her. She hopes that Io is ready. Dakota hits her with a, all due respect, you have to be the one to show up against Asuka tonight. Bayley throws it back at her, saying that's easy to say when you're the one recovering from an injury. Dakota tells her that she has her back, but she's been really distracted with Shotzi. And the real question is, Bayley ready for Asuka? So, I mean, this was just a little set piece for the next match, a little set piece for Io Asuka. Not a whole lot of meat to this segment.
Yeah, it hypes up the match that we're coming up next week, Io versus Asuka, which should be amazing. We do get the little cut that Io is off training, so a reason for her not being there. A little more seeds of dissension in the Damage Control. And I wasn't paying too much attention. You mentioned Dakota Kai stating that she had her back. I don't recall her having her back at all during this match, if I remember correctly.
Well, she's recovering from an injury, so proverbially she has her back.
I guess you just meant she'll walk behind her during the intro.
Yeah. And we get into the match, so tell me how this went down.
Yeah, and one thing that I wanted to note was this episode was sponsored by eBay Motors. I thought that was an interesting sponsor. I guess you could buy official cars off of eBay, or like I don't even. Is that supposed to be like a wannabe Carvana? I gotta look that up.
You could have bought cars off eBay for a long time, but usually it's like auction style or minimum bid or whatever.
Yeah, is eBay making a car? Like what's going on right now? But this was a nice little match that we had here. A lot of history between Bayley and Asuka. I feel like they go way back to some earlier women's title days. I don't know if they had any action down at NXT. I believe Bayley was on the main roster long before Asuka joined NXT, so it was nothing but main roster action. But some classic content here. Some great wrestling between the two. They're both trying to gain control at the start. We get some nice kicks from Asuka. Bayley does, get a counter in. We get a little bit of ground wrestling, attempted pin before Asuka kicks out. And Bayley runs away from Asuka as Asuka, kind of swings, misses her kick. And that was a little bit of the taste of the early start of the match. Bayley was kind of scared, not really getting after it too much, kind of playing a little bit low key, running back and using underhanded tactics to try to gain control over Asuka. We have one point where Bayley's up against the ropes and the ref is, kind of trying to give her space. And then she runs in and grabs Asuka by the hair to throw her down. Asuka is able to come back. She does get a nice shotgun drop kick off the top rope. Then we get Asuka out on the apron, and she tries a nice little sliding kick to Bayley, who's on the outside of the ring. Bayley dodges it, sweeps the legs, and sends Asuka face first onto the edge of the apron, which we all know is the hardest part of the ring. We do get Bayley up on top, and she pushes Asuka into the turnbuckle, or the post, I should say, on the outside of the ring before falling down. And we get a nice little commercial break. As we get back from commercial, Bayley has like a weird knee into the back of Asuka, pulling back on her chin. Just a classic grinding hold during the commercial break. We get a nice little jawbreaker from Asuka to reverse the momentum. We do get Bayley hitting a nice little stunner through the ropes. Not too sure exactly what that is called, but she's just kind of nice little stunner move before hitting a forearm and trying to get a pin. Bayley does try a sunset flip to get another pin, which gets countered into an armbar. Now we get Asuka trying to get a little bit of her submission attempts in there. Bayley does, get knocked down, eats a couple boots from Asuka, who is then able to get up and get her with a nice German, which led to a nice double down between the two. Asuka is up. She does gain a little bit of control, hits a pop-up knee and a kick before trying a pin on Bayley. Bayley is able to get out of that. Asuka then attempts to hit the double knee code breaker, which is countered by Bayley. Bayley then grabs the legs, hits some stomps to the gut before Asuka catches the leg and tries to pull her into an ankle lock. Eventually, Bayley's able to roll through with the ankle lock, throwing Asuka into the ropes. Asuka then jumps up from the second rope and hits a second rope code breaker to Bayley, getting a nice 2 count and immediately transitioning into another armbar onto Bayley. So Asuka's really putting the pressure onto Bayley, forces Bayley to roll to the ropes, rolls outside of the ring. We then get some outside of the ring brawling. Bayley gains the control. She throws Asuka into the apron, throws her into the barricade, and starts to clear off the announce table as she goes back to pick up Asuka, who's, regaining her momentum after being thrown into the barricade, she gets surprised by Shotzi, who pops her head up from the crowd and begins to move towards Bayley, who is frightened by Shotzi's presence, runs back into the ring, and is kind of backing away, looking into the hard cam away from Shotzi, who's standing on the outside. And from behind, we get Asuka climbing back into the ring. And I don't know why she didn't just grab her and put her into the Asuka lock, because that would have been perfect. But she doesn't. She grabs her arms, puts her into a backslide. 1, 2, 3. Asuka gets the pinfall victory over Bayley after Bayley gets scared by Shotzi and is distracted, leading to the pinfall.
Yeah, this Shotzi Bayley instance, I'm not wondering if, like, long game here. So eventually Asuka beats Io, whether it is next week or not. Eventually, we get the belt on Asuka. Then Bayley goes after Asuka. Bayley takes it from Asuka, and then Shotzi takes it from Bayley. Because if not, where the fuck is this whole Bayley Shotzi thing going? You know, like, they've built it up so much. It's got to go somewhere that big at this point, I feel like.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And I really like that storyline there. Yeah, we tossed the belt around a little bit, but it all makes sense in the storyline that they're building up right now. So I really do like that idea. We can also get some more dissension as Bayley wins the belt back and Io is fighting to try to get her rematch. And while somehow being distracted with that, it ends up being her losing her title, which could eventually lead to us having a nice little 3-way or a 4-way, you know. They always love having these multi-women's matches to eventually put the belt back on who you want to without having somebody to suffer a bad pinfall. So nice, would be a nice little storyline there. There was a small taste here between Shotzi and Asuka, potentially a tag team if they don't work out in the, you know, singles belt era. We might get some good matches between them and Shayna and Stark, because I feel like Zoe Stark and Asuka, that's money. So let's get them in the ring as quickly as we can.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't mind, with all these like super long reigns that we've been having, I wouldn't mind a belt that like bounced around a little bit. It would bring some, because right now I feel like the majority of us very much feel like a belt is not changing hands outside of a PLE, and it'll be like maybe one belt changes, but 80% of the time everybody retains. I feel like that's how it's been for a while now. So if they just pulled the plug on us and had a belt bounce around, even if it's just one belt, I feel like it would make us all kind of more on our toes again, instead of just kind of always feeling like we know what's going to happen.
Yeah, for sure. And then it'll give a nice little mix up in that division, because where is it going, you know?
Yeah, I mean, over on the Raw side, it feels like Rhea is never going to lose until maybe Jade comes in or whatnot. SmackDown side, though, like the roster is, I mean, a little more up in the air, so you could do more fun things with it.
100%. And we are just leading up until Survivor Series, so we might get some traditional Survivor Series matches, or we can get maybe Asuka Ripley. I can't remember when we had a singles match between them, but I feel like that'd be a fun little match if they slid that in there. Maybe even Bayley Ripley. I feel like, I don't know if they've ever wrestled each other.
I don't recall, but I would probably enjoy that one. I think that would be a match, and that's a good PLE match too, so I'll take it. After Shotzi gets the fist bump from Asuka, we come back to the Grayson Waller effect, the moment maker, the Aussie icon. And it was announced well in advance that his guest tonight would be the greatest of all time himself, John Cena. Waller opens it up saying that He's had the opportunity to share, to have some huge guests on the Grayson Waller effect. Hall of Famers, social media superstars, men and women who think they are the GOAT. But honestly, that moniker belongs to one person and one person alone. His special guest for the night. He says that he is so glad that he's on the show. And despite the fact that he's headlined multiple WrestleManias, won championship after championship, stars in Hollywood blockbusters, his star is starting to fade quicker than his hairline. But don't worry, his rise to the top starts tonight, courtesy of the Grayson Waller rub. He introduces the greatest of all time, John Cena. Ba-ba-da-ba. Cena makes his entrance. Mega pops as always. Great Cena chants from the crowd. So now we get Cena in the ring. Before Cena gets a chance to say anything, Waller looks at him and he says, wow, this is like a dream, right? I think we all kind of gave the benefit of the doubt to Grayson Waller that he was talking about it's a dream to be able to have John Cena on the Grayson Waller effect and interview the greatest of all time. But no, it must really be an honor to be on the Grayson Waller effect. When Grayson Waller talks to grown-ups, he takes his hat off like his mother taught him, which another little jab at the Colorado State beef, another ode to Deion Sanders. Waller tells him that he asked him to be on the show for a reason. As a host, I think you need some help, kid. He needs some advice because he's out here stealing the spotlight. You need to be more like Grayson Waller, he says. Just sit back and watch the stars shine. Cena goes to speak, but once again, Waller interrupts him to continue. He tells him that he has to make it all about himself one more time. And in fact, at Payback, he got in the ring, but not as a competitor, as a special guest referee. He had the audacity to come out here and lie to these people. He's lying to everyone. He knows it. Cena knows it. Everyone knows it. He doesn't want to be an in-ring competitor anymore. Truth hurts, and there's no doubt that Cena is one of the greatest of all time. But there's also no doubt that he's even close to being the greatest of right now. And in fact, he hasn't been the same at WrestleMania since his homie Austin Theory, who just whooped The Rock, he took the moment to remind us all of, beat him. Cena gets kind of pissed. Gets down to the skin, takes his shirt off, his hat off, throws it all into the audience. Waller stops him, saying, hey, this is a talk show, and it's his time to speak. So Cena gets his moment to say something. Except we don't. Jimmy Uso makes an entrance, gets in the ring and has a stare down with Cena. Cena has his moment to say something. But he doesn't. Jimmy Uso takes the mic right out of Cena's hands as he's about to say something. Kangaroo Jack, you got a point here, my dude, Jimmy opens it up with. Nobody wants you here, John. Nobody. He told him that 2 weeks ago. They're here to see him. Jim Uso, which I thought was very interesting to use the Jim Uso as we're talking about main event Jay and potentially becoming main event Jim. Crowd is breaking out in Cena chants at this point. Jimmy tells him that the crowd loves him. But check it out, Us. He came here to tell Cena to his face, you trying to embarrass me like you did 2 weeks ago? Do it. Because if you ain't going to do it, shut up and get the hell out of my ring. So John Cena, again, can't even fucking respond because we get another entrance. Solo Sikoa and John Heyman make their way down to the ring. Solo immediately goes face to face with Cena. Jimmy is sitting there saying, yeah, what you going to do now, John? Solo turns around and goes to choke out Jimmy. He acts like he's going to spike him, but then pivots and immediately super kicks Cena in the face. Jimmy goes to dap Solo up right after it. Solo acts like he's not even there and then just goes right to Cena, beating him down in the corner. Jimmy joins him. They're stomping him down in the corner, and we get another entrance. AJ Styles, the phenomenal one, comes out to save his pal John Cena. Styles goes right after Jimmy, gets some really nice shots in. Solo tosses AJ to the ground, but Cena comes and takes Solo out. AJ lays Jimmy out in the middle of the ring, and Cena hits him with the second most dramatic moment in sports entertainment history, the 5-knuckle shuffle. Cena gets Jimmy up for the AA, but Heyman starts yelling at Solo to save Jimmy. Solo gets Jimmy down before Cena can hit the AA, and the show ends with Cena and AJ in the ring to Cena's music, and we get a fade out. So this was a wild last 15 minutes or whatever it was of the show. I mean, ending on a segment, you had to know it was going to be pretty wild. Knowing that The Rock was in the building, Cena was in the building. There's so many people there. There's so much tension backstage right now with so many different little like facets of the ins and outs of the bloodline and the OC and John Cena and where it all fits in together. And on top of the mountain, you've got the Aussie icon. Man, how'd you feel about this segment?
Man, this was a lot. And one thing I would like to point out is this just shows the current state of WWE right now, and no negativity or anything of the sort. It's Friday Night Smackdown is the show where, you know, you're there to find out what's going to happen. What's the story? Why are they fighting? Because a lot of what we've been seeing lately, the bloodline, you know, it's been the soap opera. It's been, you know, what are they doing and not, you know, when are they fighting? And ending this episode on a segment just shows that's how much drawing power those segments have been bringing in, that they're like, yeah, you know, we're going to hype up all these storylines and they're going to eat it up because this is sort of to be continued. And now we're on the edge because we know we got some matches next week. They announced, you know, some matches. Great. We know what's going to happen, but what about everything else? You know, there's another hour and a half in the show besides that. Hopefully they give 30 minutes to that women's match because it's going to, you know, be amazing. There's a lot of things that we are eager to see with all these individuals here tonight. A few small things and highlights that I noted. When Paul was basically taking the leash off of Solo to go save Jimmy, he was on the phone, I believe. It looked like he was on the phone with Roman, I'm assuming, and Roman made the call to go save Jimmy. And as you know, right before we kind of fade to black and they're playing Cena's music, I feel they kind of cut out quickly. But Paul was on the phone, and it looked like he was on the phone holding Solo while talking to Roman. It looked like that's what was going on. So looks like Roman was watching. He made the call to save Jimmy, and hopefully they play into that a little bit more, and that wasn't just something that happened in the background that I'm making more of than they actually are. But this was great. Grayson Waller was out here having the time of his life, just dancing in the background, you know, as people are coming out, enjoying the show, talking so much shit to Cena to start. I don't know if Cena ever spoke on this whole segment here.
He did not.
Okay, yeah, every time he was about to, you know, Waller cuts him off. He's about to, and we get, and he cuts him off, smacks the mic out of his hand. And he just never had the opportunity before he started fighting, and then the show ends, and he's just kind of in there with AJ. And man, he's got some history with AJ. They put on one of the best WWE matches, you know, quote unquote, according to ratings. But I really loved the match. That was the first time I've seen John Cena do he hit an AA and he held on to AJ, rolled through, standing back up, and then hit another AA. It was I think it was like the 2016, maybe Survivor Series or SummerSlam. It was an amazing match between those two gentlemen.
that might be, I mean, up there with the 2011 Cena CM Punk Money in the Bank. That's up there for probably John's best matches, you know?
Yeah, like crazy. Certain matches just stick in my head, and I'll never forget that just because that ending, I've never seen anything like that from John Cena. And I hope we get one more of those, you know, just one more before, you know, his balding hairline does catch up to him. We need one more.
Yeah, I mean, the hairline goes any further back, he starts shaving his head, gets a tan, and you won't be able to tell the difference between him and Rock in the ring.
except The Rock is much taller. When they had that backstage segment, I was like, I did not know that the height difference was, you know, this severe between them two.
Yeah, they're both on the same jacked scale, though. Actually, John might be bigger these days.
Yeah, you might be actually. But wonderful way to end the show. Hopefully we get some tag action. You know, let's get Cena in the ring with AJ Styles. Let's get Jimmy. Let's get Solo. Shit, let's get Grayson Waller in there. You know, we could have some fun stuff.
Dude, I can see that being a Fastlane match. There's two possibilities. We could get AJ and Cena versus Solo and Jimmy, or we could get a triple threat tag match of Cena and AJ versus Jimmy and Solo versus Waller and Theory.
I got you.
I could go for either. I mean, to me, those three tag sometimes is just too much, but I definitely would go for Solo, Jimmy, John, AJ.
Yeah, that would be some great shit. And then we, you know, Solo and Jimmy are gonna fuck up and end up losing to piss off Roman even more.
I'm kind of hoping Roman comes back from this break with like some other brothers, cousins, second, third cousin. You know what I mean? Like more people in the family and being like, yo, I went out and recruited because y'all couldn't get it done.
There is a, I don't know his name, right? Another Fatu on the indie scene in Booker T's promotion, and he recently let his contract expire down there, and he's like a cousin, like a legitimate. He's a legitimate Usos, right? But he has a nice little pop up spike, so would be fun. And that's what people have been talking about, is him bringing in more people to eventually spice things up, because anybody who comes in immediately going to have that rub, and it's automatically going to have credibility just being around the guy. So
yeah, I mean, look at how quickly Solo was built up, really, you know? How long did it take him to get pinned in the ring? And has he even been pinned in a Solos match?
I don't think so. And what were they calling him? The Street King, or what were they calling him before?
I don't even remember, dude.
He's the enforcer of the bloodline now. You know what I'm saying? He's a beast. He's a monster. But before, he was like the Street King or something like that. Like
a nobody.
Yeah, he made that come up, man.
So hey, they better abuse it while they can. You know, I'm not familiar with the kid you're talking about, but if he's good in the ring, dude, make it happen. I think it would work out really well. But I really liked what you pointed out about how the juxtaposition of SmackDown and Raw of, you know, right now you expect banger matches from Raw, and you get banger matches from Raw because, as I've talked about, it just so much. I feel like the in-ring talent is so much tilted on the side of Raw right now. And you've got some really good people in SmackDown, but some of those really good people don't appear very often. So you're right. The fact that basically the main event of SmackDown was a segment, and that says a lot, in a good way. And we were all, I mean, I don't know the viewership numbers, but I'm sure they went up a lot towards the end of the show. I'm sure, especially with the Jimmy and Solo stuff, as you were alluding to earlier. I know I was. kind of deep down hoping that maybe this is when Rock gets involved with his family for fucking once, instead of teasing the fact that he was set to headline WrestleMania. And I know we've all wanted Rock Roman for a long time right now, and how just absolutely poetic it would be for The Rock to dethrone Roman, if that's even possible. But to even just have those two in the ring together, how poetic that would be. But no, he was nowhere to be found amidst this family drama.
Yeah, there was a small little cameo in the Young Rock show. I believe there was he had like a championship belt, or he had like a picture of himself and Roman when he was younger, or something along those lines, kind of hinting at that when he had his little TV show that was out there, which was pretty enjoyable. But I did like that they spiced up this end so much that I was like, and as we saw in what I just said about that segment, I didn't mention The Rock at all when we talked about the bloodline and where the storyline's going and Roman coming back and everything amongst that. We just saw the show with The Rock on it, and he wasn't even on my mind. I'm just excited to see what goes on with the bloodline. Like, if The Rock gets involved, holy shit, my brain can't even fathom that, let alone just the things that they might be going on right now. So I feel like they need to. They don't have to talk about it. They could let it be tongue in cheek, and eventually explain it, because whenever they do, it's going to make sense, because it's, somebody's going to be like, you ignored me. Like, it's going to be Jimmy or Jay, and like, you ignored me. We were calling for you. And then The Rock's going to be like, I didn't ignore you. I was giving you space to be a man and handle it yourself. But it looks like I'm going to have to handle it for you, or some nonsense.
Yeah, because you a candy ass.
Then he's going to beat down Jimmy, and then we're going to get the stare down between The Rock and Roman. I don't know how these guys are going to stare down each other in the middle of the ring and keep a straight face, because I feel like they both, they got to be so happy for each other, so happy for this moment to occur, know what it's taken to get here and where they've both been, to act serious in this moment and not smile. I feel like that's going to be one of the biggest challenges in both of their careers.
They're up for it. And the whole journey of the bloodline has been so magical. How much more magical would it even be if it caps off with The Rock getting involved? I think that's probably on most of our wish lists. I don't believe that it'll happen. I don't think that it's going to happen. I really hope that it happens, though.
Yeah, man. That's all we need, man. We just need night 1, Jay versus Jimmy. Night 2, The Rock versus Roman.
Oh, dude, don't even tempt me. Please make this happen. So obviously there was a lot to talk about in this SmackDown, because it was a very segment-heavy SmackDown. But I do want to go over and cover the NXT card real quick, as we had some pretty important things happen there. We had a handful of matches. I believe we had 8 matches. So it opened up with Ilya Dragunov versus Wes Lee in a match to decide who is the number 1 contender and will be challenging Carmelo Hayes. And Dragunov comes out the winner here. So we get a rematch there of a killer match previously, and I expect a blockbuster follow-up. Then we had a 6-man tag match with Drew Gulak, Charlie Dempsey, Damon Kemp against Josh Briggs, Brooks Jensen, and Miles Bourne. Gulak, Dempsey, and Kemp come out on top in that match. We had a women's match between Lyra Valkyria and Dana Brooke. Lyra Valkyria wins on the pinfall in that one. We had a heritage match. We had Tyler Bate versus Axiom, where Tyler Bate got the win there. A tag match between the Creed brothers versus Malik Blade and Edris Enofe, and Creed brothers won that. Another heritage match between Nathan Frazier and Akira Tozawa. Easy win for Frazier there. And we had the main event. Tiffany Epiphanies versus the man, Becky Lynch, for the NXT Women's Championship. And Becky Lynch wins the belt she never had. She takes down Tiffany Stratton in a phenomenal match with a manhandle slam. She broke out several disarm hers. Like, I feel Becky is back on the come up right now. And it was so good seeing like how genuinely happy, like there are just smiles you can't fake. And the smile that she had from having that belt was just heartwarming. Great episode of NXT. Some real quick standing updates for the Global Heritage Invitational. In Group A, we have Butch on top with 3 points. Second place, we've got Tyler Bate with 2 points. Third place, Axiom with 1 point. And last, we have Charlie Dempsey with 0 points. Group B, we have Joe Coffey and Nathan Frazier, both with 4 points. Joe Coffey is on top because he's 2-0. Nathan Frazier would be in second with 2-1. Duke Hudson is in third place with 2 points. And then Akira Tozawa has yet to win a match. 0 points for Akira Tozawa. Some quick updates there. We have some good NXT action coming up that we found out on this last one. You know, we're going to have at No Mercy, we're going to have Braun Breaker versus Baron Corbin. That'll be a pretty interesting match. Next week on NXT, we have champion versus champion. Carmelo Hayes versus Dirty Dom Mysterio. I think that's a good opportunity for Dom to get his ass beat, and I can't really imagine that happening any other way. So, a good next week in wrestling.
Yeah, man. Nice little show. I need to go back and rewatch and get some more details there. One thing I did want to comment on, I feel this whole NXT Championship title picture between Wesley, Dragunov, and Melo, I think somehow we're going to end up getting a three-way. I think somehow this three-way is going to end up with Melo pinning Wesley to finally end the beef between them two, but to continue on with Dragunov being able to say, you couldn't beat me. And I eventually think we're going to get probably the big Royal Rumble pay-per-view for NXT, where we get the big one-on-one match and we get, you know, a 36-minute fucking banger between Melo and Dragunov, where Dragunov finally wins the title, and that allows Melo to move up, maybe make his main roster debut in the Royal Rumble or something along those lines. But I feel like that's where that's going, especially we got this little Dom thing to just kind of push things out, because, you know, Dom's not a real competitor in the NXT Championship division. So just something to pass the time. Speaking of big pay-per-views, one final thing I wanted to harp back on as we were finishing the SmackDown show and we were discussing Roman versus The Rock, it just dawned on me as well. The last time the Roman and Rock were in Philadelphia was when Roman got booed out of the building in 2015 at the Royal Rumble, and they had to send The Rock out there to try to send the crowd home happy because nobody wanted Roman to win, and this was back when everybody hated Roman. So wouldn't it be poetic justice to see them two end the show again in Philadelphia with a much different crowd reaction?
Even more of a reason why this needs to happen.
It's all the stars are aligning.
Make it happen. As far as the NXT picture goes, I don't know. They had a weird segment where Wesley, after the match, was like really beat down and was basically said, you know, I'm packing up my shit and I'm going home. So I see more likely that Dragunov takes the belt from Carmelo Hayes and then Wesley eventually comes out of the woodwork and wants to re-up against Dragunov. I could see that being a possibility. It was just like a weird segment that they kind of threw in there of him just like leaving the building.
He's in his feelings a lot.
He certainly was after the match. It was a really good match too, which I think we all expected it to be. Hopefully some of this talent will get to carry over into the main roster at some point, because I think those three, especially Dragunov, Wesley, and Carmelo Hayes, I think are exceptional. I mean, obviously you move them up, then NXT basically becomes devoid of men's talent aside from Braun Breaker and, you know, some of these other guys, Nathan Frazier and Joe Coffey, Tyler Bate even.
Yeah, the NXT Heritage Division.
yeah, basically. However, I think that could even be more of a possibility as the potential reported changes to the belt structure in the WWE now with the merger with the parent company of the UFC, in that there have been some rumors that they could be reintroducing weight divisions, stuff like a cruiserweight championship. So, you know, where I'm trying to go with this is that, you know, there's a place for Wesley and guys of that size. Hey, maybe Akira Tozawa doesn't have to lose a match. That could be interesting. So if we get to the point where they reintroduce weight classes, I feel like that could be a pretty large shakeup to the dynamic of the roster.
Yeah, if they do that, I just hope it doesn't fall into the stereotypical, we only care about the heavyweight title picture, nobody cares about the cruiserweights, because we had a cruiserweight belt and it ended up getting sucked into, I believe, the NXT title belt. I believe the NXT title belt sucked in like the old UK belt. Like they gave up on the whole division. And man, like, I didn't watch much 205 Live, but the division was stacked, you know, and the Cruiserweight Classic from 2016 was probably one of the best tournaments WWE's ever put on, and they pulled out some random names that unfortunately they weren't able to keep and sign, but some great talent, and I'd love to see more of that, especially if we can get some more action, but they got to give them as much showtime, you know, as much, you know, like soap opera storyline, build them up, give me the characters, make me care. You know, I don't need to just see them flipping every week. You know, I need to care about them, or else I'm not going to, you know, be too invested in their matches.
Yeah, and I think the main thing that has changed that opens that door as a possibility, something that's happened since they last had that cruiserweight division, is the success of AEW and the fact that there are several smaller guys in that roster. I think WWE has always favored the behemoths because they're usually what is physically and aesthetically impressive. However, we see some of the top guys in AEW be tiny dudes, you know, Orange Cassidy, you know, Darby Allin, Adam Cole is a smaller dude, and when you consider, you know, guys like LA Knight and whatnot. So I think that success could lead to them giving it proper treatment, if that makes sense.
I sure hope so. And maybe putting people like a Seth Rollins, who is in that weight class and division, if we're quote unquote counting some of these cruiserweights or weight divisions, I feel like the people that are in his weight class and division aren't in his weight class and division for the heavyweight championship belt, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. We'll close it out here. It's a lot of fun things to look forward to next week. I'm excited for the things to come. Definitely SmackDown. You will hear from us next covering the upcoming edition, the September 18th edition of Monday Night Rollins. But take us home, Henron.
Yes, sir. It's been a wonderful evening, blessing you all once again with our voices, giving you some of the news from the most recent episodes of Friday Night Smackdown and NXT. We will catch you next time for Monday Night Raw. Have a good night, everybody.
Deuces, ooses.
Peace.